Okay. Here is the conclusion of my 401k series. My series about um, you're not out of time. Okay. I'm Chris. Thanks for tuning in. Let's get to it. Understanding risk, responsibility, and why I personally chose a broker's window. Okay, so throughout this series, we've talked about fear, timing, income sources, and understanding how your 401k really works. Today, I want to address a question that naturally comes up next. How should a 401k actually be positioned? And why do some people stay conservative while others go further? Okay, I have my personal opinions about that, but we're not going there, right? So, also, let me add, over the years, I have gotten emails from from the company that holds my company's 401k, right? Gotten emails that saying, give them a call, so we can go over some things, so we can discuss some things. Now that probably would have helped had I been doing it on a regular basis, maybe once a quarter, twice a year, what have you. Call them up, they'll ask me some questions. I would have the opportunity to ask them some questions, and maybe we could reconfigure the 401k to work better for me. I never did it, and they didn't call me. They just sent the emails, and so I'm saying that's one course of action we could take, right? So anyway, let's get to it. Throughout this series, okay, we covered that. So all right. So conservative has a purpose. First, let me say this clearly. Conservative positioning exists for a reason, especially when the priority is preservation, stability, and reducing major swings. Personally, I don't think it's ever a good time to go conservative, but you got to figure out what works best for you and your financial strategy, right? So, conservative does not mean careless. None of the three are careless, right? Conservative, moderate, aggressive, none are careless, right? Because it's a professional company that holds working companies 401ks. And if the company that holds your company 401k is not doing a good job for not just you, but the board of directors, the president, the leaders, and everyone else, then your company will, when the contract is up, instead of renewing it, they'll move it from that company to another company, right? Because everybody is trying to grow their retirement income, right? So any brokerage company is going to do a reputable job, right? Because they don't want you to be talking about their company in the long run. So don't let me, don't be mistaken there. So none of the three strategies is careless, right? So conservative does not mean careless, and it does not mean uninformed. In many seasons of life, conservative is actually wise. That's what research says. This keeps trust intact. The question people always ask, but then comes the next question: and it's a fair one. If conservative works, why would anyone choose more involvement? In my opinion, conservative is the slowest way to grow your money, to grow your wealth, to put your hard-earned army of dollars to work. So, if you have an insane income and you're putting insane money into your 401k, I guess it doesn't really matter, because over 3 decades, you're going to have an insane amount of money. At least that's the way it should go, right? So why would someone use a brokerage window? Good question. So introducing the brokerage window. I want to be very clear. A brokerage window is not for everyone. I personally chose that route not because it was easier, not because it was safer, but because I was willing to take on more responsibility. So before I came to that point, speaking of me, when I decided to get the brokerage window, I had already been in the market for coming up on 2 years just from my side hustle money, right? And I had done exceptionally well, right? But I was always studying, I was always researching, and I had a hunger for financial knowledge, right? And I found that the more I researched, the easier it was to turn the money over. Some people don't want to do all that, so you got to figure out what works best for you. But it was great timing for me once I decided to make that move. Matter of fact, one of my mentors had mentioned, he said, you could determine exactly where your money goes in the market in your 401k. So when he said that, I laughed. I said, that's not so. You know, your 401k is put into mutual funds, and I can't think of the other word, it slipped my mind, but it's put into buckets. It's not put into individual companies, right? And so when he said it, I said, you know what, I'm laughing at him. I'll call the 800 number or the financial advisor tomorrow. We'll see what they say. So I called them, and that's when they introduced me to the brokerage window. And so when they walked me through setting it up, no problem. They said, you want us to help you do it? Are you at a computer? And I was, and they helped me do it, right? They said, how you gonna fund it? You got a check of inheritance or whatever? I said, no, I need to transfer some money over from my main part of my 401k over to this brokerage window. So they walked me through doing that as well. I made some notes so I could do it again in the future if I chose to do so, right? So at that point, I had 2 years of experience and knowledge, and I knew of some upcoming opportunities to be going on in the market, and it positioned me to be able to take advantage of those things, right? So that's one of the reasons why it worked out really well for me. So that choice required research, it required study, it required patience, right? Giving your money a chance to mature, whatever position you put it in. It required emotional discipline, not getting discouraged because I seen some red. I can't speak for everyone. I can only speak for Christopher. When Christopher sees red, if it's a good company, if nothing has changed to cause that company to change its business model, its business direction, then I'm not afraid of the red. It's just something going on, either bad news or something happening in the market or something happening in the political arena or something happening in the economy to drive the value down at that period of time. When that happens, I take it as a gift to me. It's like a clearance sale, right? So I take advantage of continuing to DCA, dollar cost average, into my position when it's in the red, because now I'm buying it on a discount, right? So that's me. But if you don't have that emotional discipline, then you might want to leave your portfolio in the hands of the financial advisor, right? And it requires accountability. Okay, why it worked? Why it worked for me? My testimony, right? Not instructions. Sharing with you my experience and how it benefited me. Here's why it worked for me. I respected market cycles. I had already been in it for 2 years, and I had a sense of how the market moves. I had a sense of what economical news in the world affect the markets, what political news in the world affect the markets. If there's a war going on, even if we're just financially supporting it, all of those things affect the market. So I respected market cycles at that point, right? I stopped reacting emotionally and started paying attention. Red didn't scare me. The news line, the news articles didn't scare me. When I see a news article, I go and fact check it for myself to see what's going on with the company, what's going on in the economy, what's going on in the political world, what's going on, is there a war on the horizon, right? And then I could interpret that based off of the knowledge I had gained thus far. I didn't rush timing. I wasn't in a hurry. I was 50, 52. Didn't plan on retiring at the time until 59 and a half. I'm hoping to retire a little bit sooner than that at this point, but I'm 56 now, so who knows? Okay, but so I wasn't in a hurry because I knew I had some years, right? I allowed patience to work on my behalf. I stayed engaged, always watching videos, always Googling information for myself, always watching the market, right? That's what I was doing. I enjoyed doing it. It was exciting to me. I didn't set it and forget it. I stayed involved. And I aligned my decisions with wisdom, prayer, and discipline, not my feelings, right? Then I did something key to me, and that was a brokerage window magnified both wisdom and ignorance, right? I was able to understand and see why my main part of my 401k wasn't really growing in value. It was growing in size, it wasn't growing in value. In your main brokerage account, all it does is buy. Like I love to say, as my good friend Jasper Reese, the Minority Mindset, he loves to say, ABB, always be buying, right? Which is a great thing to do, but you have to learn how to take profit and move money out of a position that's in crazy profit, not close the position, but move a portion of the profits out, sell some of that position, and move it into another great position that is now beat down. So you'll end up doing with that position that is beat down, it'll do what the last position that took off, in theory, right? Because everything has its time to run, right? So a broker is willing to magnify both wisdom and ignorance. I could see the difference of why it's just buying, and I could see the ignorance of the money it was leaving on the table by not taking profits and enlarging other positions, right? Okay, let's keep it moving. The responsibility test. So the real question isn't conservative or brokerage. The real question is, how involved am I willing to be? That's a personal question that only you can answer for yourself. I always say you are the CEO of your own portfolio. How much responsibility am I prepared to carry? Am I going to blame it on someone else? Am I going to take responsibility of steering this ship? If my retirement income is important to me and it's lacking, and there are some things that I could take advantage of to increase it, I wanted to take advantage of it and increase it. I'd already saw what I was able to do in my personal portfolio. So I was now ready to take and apply that same knowledge to my 401k. If someone isn't willing to learn and ask questions, let me say that again. If someone isn't willing to learn and ask questions and stay disciplined, conservative options may actually be the wiser choice for that individual. That's a personal question you have to answer for yourself, and then choose wisely. That's leadership without pressure. All right. This isn't about copying what Christopher did. It's about understanding why different options exist and choosing wisely for your own situation. You have to understand what your situation is. How much time do you still have left before you retire? Where is your 401k now? And what can you do to get the maximum performance out of your 401k? Again, that's a decision you have to choose for yourself. It's about understanding why different options exist and choosing wisely for your own situation. Stewardship looks different in different seasons. Perfect transition note for me. Now, here's where this leads us next. Understanding how to grow and manage your 401k is one side of the equation. The other side is how that income is taxed. It's a good question, right? That's why next we're going to talk about the Roth IRA and why combining a 401k with a Roth can be one of the most powerful retirement strategies available. I didn't always know this, but I learned it. And then a couple of friends of mine that work with me, when they come up upon retirement, and they had all this crazy money in their 401k, the financial advisor asked them the question, did they have a Roth IRA? And they said, no, y'all never advised that to me. Well, again, they were getting the emails and they weren't making the calls either. And that is why they didn't have a Roth IRA, because what the company that holds our 401k was sharing is somewhere along the way we would have recommended that. It never came up because they never reach out. So you're not out of time. You're not disqualified. You're learning how to walk wisely, and wisdom compounds, right? So now that we've talked about the 401k and the different strategies and what have you, I made a note to myself somewhere. Oh, wow. Bear with me for just a moment. Note that I made to myself here. Don't look like I'm gonna find a note, so let's see. Growth is only half the story. Next, we're gonna talk about keeping more of what you grow and keeping that tax-free. That is what the Roth IRA will help you to do, help us to do, right? So this episode about the 401k was actually I often harp on aggressive, right? Being aggressive and growing your 401k funds, right? But let's see, growth. Let's see. Wow. I did what was best for me, right? So you got to figure out what's best for you, right? So I was mainly sharing my path and not suggesting what you have to do. You don't have to do what I did. You just need to make sure you're maximizing the potential of your 401k. You just need to make sure you're putting in the company match every time you get paid, because that's free money, right? And you can, anyway, we'll get to that next series about the Roth. So I see I've ran over. I wanted to take my time. I wanted to try to share some ideas and strategies with you to put you at ease about your 401k, to show you that there are still some options, that you're not out of time. You just need to get busy working. You need to get busy making wise decisions. From the moment you grow your knowledge, start applying that knowledge that you've grown, right? Don't be scared. It's all a process. It's all a process. And don't get afraid when things are red, because the day have been a horrible day. I've been looking in on the market a few times, and I see how everything was tanking. Crypto was tanking, stock was tanking, but there's a reason why that happened, and I can't get into that now. I'm already 19 minutes in. There's some political things going on, and they putting this new law or what have you. They're putting together, and both sides are fighting, and that's affecting the economy. But once they get that settled, because they're running out of time, they got to come to a conclusion. Once they settle that, and the market can interpret what's going on, then it'll settle off and it'll start back doing what it's supposed to do. Start back going up, right? But in the meantime, you could be taking advantage of that opportunity if you, one, know how, two, have some funds available to do so, right? So we're going to close out here, good people. Hopefully I've said something to help you. If I have, please hit that like. Please hit that subscribe. Share it with someone who could maybe use it. And as I always say, walk in wisdom.